Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for the 200th time to the Retro Gamers podcast. We made it, by God, barely. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
And what's going on? Happy 200.
Happy 200. You know, if you would have told me that I would be talking to you 200 times in my lifetime, I would have said no way.
But there was a lot of time between high school and before we started recording.
No. See, that doesn't count because there's no evidence.
This is true. Fair enough. Well, there is, but we're not going to talk about it.
No. We're not going to go through that.
And I'm getting a phone call. Hopefully you don't hear that.
That's a different podcast.
Yes.
200 episodes.
Honestly.
Wow.
And it's we've come far, you know, from those humble beginnings of holding the phone up to the speaker to get the entrance theme to where we're at now, which isn't that far different, but
but you know, it's funny. It's like when you go back to like the first handful of episodes, we were actually sitting in your basement apartment, and you were just recording them on your phone, and that was it.
Yep. That was it.
And here we are. We're on YouTube. We're all over Facebook, Instagram, everywhere. Look, I'm rocking the OG shirt.
Oh yeah, look, I didn't even notice that. We look, there was about 45 minutes of pre-production, and I didn't even notice the shirt.
Yeah, well, that's because as everybody knows, I've now relocated to Orlando. We've been recording from here, but I've been setting up my office along the way, and so this is my first time actually recording from my office, all set up the way that I want, and it's been a disaster.
But that's how it should go. Nothing ever goes 100% with us.
No, nothing ever does. And you know what? That's okay because it shows that we're flawed. As much as I don't like to admit that.
I have no problem admitting that.
Yeah, so. Well, that's okay. That's you.
But, so we've grown. I know personally I've grown as far as how to do podcasting, how to record. I've
regressed.
A little bit, you have, actually.
I'm not asking you to agree.
If I wasn't having to work from home, I'd have a whole table dedicated to the podcast, and I'd have that Well, 2020 put a kibosh on a lot of it, but not permanently.
Mm-hmm. Well, but and what's funny is that 2020 has done the complete opposite for me because I've upgraded. Because I have, I bought a house. I live in my own home, so I have an actual room dedicated to my office and my podcast, and for the most part, my gaming.
And that's what I'm interested in, because this is a different setup than I've seen in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, so this is it. Yeah, so I got so obviously you can see I'm sitting on a cool little couch. There's actually a futon for when you come visit, so you can stay.
Excellent.
You can stay here. I can have guests, but I'm going to reveal the room, and as you can see behind me, the walls. You see the walls are a little bit green. I went with on the sides of I've got my blue curtains, which are kind of if you know Zelda, they're kind of a blue rupee color.
Okay, yes.
And then the green is actually, I kind of tried to go for a Zelda green on the walls, which really makes the room look like grass, but whatever. So it's perfectly fine.
I figured you were doing a chroma key green.
No. Well, actually, it's funny. No, that would have been more neon. But if I wanted to green screen against this wall, I could probably get away with it, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so we're going to do something a little unconventional. I know people who listen to the podcast, Larry can describe what he's going to see, but I'm going to give a tour of my new office to those of you watching on YouTube. So here, let's. So we're going to start. I'm going to move in a little bit, and then I'm going to turn. I'm going to turn the camera because I have it right here. So if you go to my right,
that is green. Oh, look at that. Wow, nice.
I got my video game collection up there. Whoop, I'm sorry, everything is crooked.
No, you're right.
And then over here, you got my computer setup.
Very nice.
And my periodic table of controllers.
That is actually a really cool poster.
Yeah,
it's a straight up periodic table of elements, but there's that many control. Yeah, I guess there is. Yeah.
Well, the bottom ones are handheld.
I was gonna say the first thing I saw was the
so that's kind of cool.
the Nokia N-Gage.
Yes.
First one that popped out to me.
So we got that, and then if we go over a little bit more, there's my memorabilia.
Yeah, the memorabilia
you've seen.
Yeah, we've seen the last couple weeks. Yeah, go back to the yeah.
Yeah, what you have. Oh, go back to the games.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, if you have something there, but the game, that's a look in LA. I mean, you didn't. Yeah. The room you had, you worked with, but
I did not display all the games.
Looks amazing. That's got to be what, 7 feet, maybe 8 feet high.
It's 6 feet high, but then I had to go. I had to go up.
I see that. Yeah.
So, and then I don't know if you remember me getting this at the Renaissance Fair.
You got that as well?
Yep.
Oh, because
So
I got one
that.
too. Okay.
I've got my painted cell from the Super Mario Brothers arcade.
That is
cartoon. Sorry.
That is awesome.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yes.
And then, but what I really want to show you guys is gonna be right here.
Oh, look at that, ladies and gentlemen! It is the cubby holes to fit all of literally all of his game systems. Look at that.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
My microphone came out for a second.
Yeah, Anthony's having a little. That's okay.
I'm having audio issues, but yeah. So
amazing.
Yeah, so I basically set it up to house all of my retro systems. So everything from Atari to PS3 is in here. I keep my current systems are in my living room. So and as you can see, I have everything, and not only that, everything is set up to work.
So everything is wired.
Everything is wired and good to go. And if you look a little bit higher, obviously you see the TV on the wall. I got some pictures up on the wall.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Which is cool. But yeah, so just to rattle off what is currently hooked up and available to play. My minis are not hooked up yet. I don't know how to fit them in here. But anyway, so what I have hooked up are console-wise, Atari 2600, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Famicom, Super Famicom, my JVC XI, which is a Sega Genesis and Sega CD.
Yes.
Sony PlayStation, PlayStation 2, Sega Saturn, Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo 64, Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Wii U, Sega Dreamcast, my Retro Freak from Japan, Xbox 360, and PlayStation 3.
Wow.
Yes.
Do you have it looks like there may be a cubby hole reserved. There's some boxes in one of them.
Yeah, I've got my minis in there, and that is reserved for whatever the next console is going to be. And I have it's going to be one of two. It's either going to be the Poly Mega, which looks like it's on point for November, or I'm in the middle of making a barter with a friend of mine. So so there will be hopefully a new system here at some point before the end of the year.
So for those listening, we've all seen that picture of the guy who has all the cubby holes with all the systems in it. But that guy had like 2 televisions because he had a ton of system. This is basically it. Anthony's got it looks like 2 setups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 16 cubby holes, not counting the drawers on the bottom. And that looks fantastic.
Yeah, so in total there are 18 consoles set up.
If you ever wanted to see what a fire hazard looks like, you're looking at it right now.
Yeah, I used a lot of zip ties in the back to try and deal with the issue, and it still looks like a mess. And then the bottom where you see all the little bins in the cubby holes, those are the controllers for the systems in that column.
How many I'm assuming everything is. Do you have anything hooked up through RF?
Yes, the Atari is hooked up.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
the Atari is hooked up through RF. That's the only one through RF. And the one system that I could not get to fit here, unfortunately, was the Commodore 64. There's just no room for that, and you need a desk for it because of the.
Oh, an actual Commodore 64.
Yeah, because I have a Commodore 64.
That's true. I forgot.
And I also have it. Actually, it's funny. My friend Christine, Charlie's wife, she gave me hers like years and years and years ago.
I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also set up with an AV cable, so I can hook it up through AV.
Oh.
The problem is though, you literally need a desk setup.
No, it's a computer.
It's massive. So that's the only thing that's really not hooked up. But the bottom line is, I've got everything else I need right at my fingertips. I could not be happier about it.
That is awesome.
Yeah. So
very, very cool.
So I wanted to unveil that for our 200th episode because I'm not going to lie. I've been working like a dog on this room. The rest of my house can look like a shambles. I'm like, but this room is perfect. Although the rest of my house is very nice. So.
Are you using any of those update HDMI wires for any of those old ones?
Yeah. So the N64 and the original Xbox are HDMI. HDMI setup. I need it. I would like to switch my Dreamcast over to HDMI because I'm sure that would look amazing.
Yeah, they have. So, they're all out. They're all available. We don't get paid for it, but Hyperkin, definitely check those out. Actually, I just bought a Genesis cable.
Yep. Yeah. So, just anything HDMI I would love to do. But right now, like as far as everything is set up, I could not be happier with this.
That is awesome. Good stuff.
Really cool.
Congratulations on that. That is sweet.
Thank you.
My setup is just dog. So.
Yeah, but but you know what I mean. Look, you'll take your time. You'll get it set up the way that you like it.
To be fair.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I have right here, I just put all my minis like along the bottom for those, again, watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
All the minis are now, Jesus, this is my giant finger.
Yes, I see your big finger.
Are on the bottom of the TV.
It's quite
disturbing. So I got the minis lined up there. All the regular systems are inside the cabinets.
Nice.
The Switch is on the ladder, which is a little further out, the ladder piece here.
Okay.
And then really it's when the Polymega shows up. There's my kitchen and my dirty laundry and stuff. When the Polymega shows up, that's when I'm gonna do like the overhaul. But I also forgot I have the Atari VCS on order. I'm gonna have the Intellivision on order.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna need one of these cube organizers for all that stuff.
I might, I honestly might, and I've yet to find an HDMI switch that works.
Oh, yeah. See, I have one hooked up in here that works fine. I should say
works properly. But those would work better on the old systems because there's not consistent power going. That's always been the problem. Consistent power, but that's for another time. Very cool, though, Ant. Very cool.
Thank you, sir.
So, all right. So, Anthony's repositioned himself there now.
Yep. I just wanted to get, kind of, this would be more of like what my normal setup would be when we podcast, but I just wanted to give a nice tour of the room.
Very cool. I'm loving that room. That is a game room.
So. Yes, it totally is, and that it's something I've always wanted. So I have achieved my dream.
There you go. Another one off.
Very happy.
The check.
Yep.
So,
before we
got to play everything.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem. It's like I've spent so much time setting up this place in the last month. I've yet to turn on a game, but now I plan to do that. Anyway,
good.
One last thing I wanted to bring up before I go into I have something prepared for obviously the episode, but I went to Starbucks this morning like I always do to get my caffeine, which is just essentially unsweetened iced tea. And the barista behind and I was wearing my Retro Gamers, my original shirt.
Very cool.
Grabbed my drinks and she looks at me. She's like, wow. She's like, that's a really cool shirt. And I was like, aw. I was like, what a great way to start off episode 200. I was like, I got complimented for our shirt.
There you go. Where's your phone? Here's our podcast.
Exactly. That's what I should have done. If I only had a card on me, I would have been like, you can listen to us. And then she would have been like, oh, never mind.
Creep. Just drink and go.
Creep. Yeah, take your drink and go. I was just being nice.
And remember, folks, you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You watch us on YouTube, and if everything all goes correctly, you should also be able to watch us now on Instagram TV, IGTV.
Yes, that's awesome.
So that should be pretty fun.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. It's always nice when we get to add something.
Yeah, why not?
So Larry, I don't know what you had in mind for the 200th episode, but I was trying to
drinking and boozing.
Drinking and boozing. All right. Well, see, since I don't booze, I decided to do what I usually do, and that is do a little research and try and come up with some cool information. Okay. And I have a couple of things to share today. And for the first thing I wanted to talk about is I thought this was really cool, and one of them is kind of predictable, but since we're at episode 200, and I'm thinking big numbers, right? What kind of big numbers exist in video games? So I decided to look up the most video game titles in a franchise.
Oh, okay.
The same way that, we have 200 episodes of our podcast. Maybe we're the longest running retro gaming podcast out there. I don't know. I didn't do that research, and I wasn't going to compare us to other people. So
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I'm going to say no too. But it's nice to know that we have 200 episodes.
Yes.
I thought let's look up some video game franchises and see, and see who's got the most. And I'm sure number one is 100% predictable, but the rest on the list are actually very interesting.
You know what? I'm trying to think what number one would be. I have two different franchises in mind. So I don't know if it's going to be as predictable, but we'll see. So where do we start off?
Okay. So we're going to start off at number 10 with and this list was compiled July of 2020 by Game Rant. So I'm assuming they're not including anything that's been announced since then. And I'm sure there've been a couple. So
no problem.
Well, who knows? At number 10, we have the Legend of Zelda franchise with 28 plus games. I don't know what the plus means.
I thought that would have been a little bit higher.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
exactly.
28 plus. The plus are the CDI games.
Oh yeah, well yeah. Actually, that should be 28 minus then. You know,
All right,
or 28 and 2 Forgotten Souls. You know.
Oh,
But yeah. So number 10, Legend of Zelda franchise. Number 9 with over 30 games, and I was actually surprised when I saw this on the list because I didn't think that Donkey Kong had that many games.
What?
Yeah. See.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
See,
So
I think like handhelds. See, you know what some of these get away with? Like a lot of time, like Donkey Kong Country was on N60, Super Nintendo.
Yep.
Was also on Game Boy as Donkey Kong Land.
Right.
So different games, but yeah, all right, I get that. I can see that then.
Yeah. So we got Donkey Kong at 30. At number 8, also with over 30 games, and this one I actually buy. Well, do I buy this? I don't know. Resident Evil has over 30 games, but I guess you count like you count like Resident Evil 0, like all all
probably
the
the
spin-off
remakes.
ones. Mm-hmm.
Don't forget like those Umbrella Chronicles. There was that rail shooter on the on the Wii.
The Wii.
That was really cool. Actually, I think it was the Umbrella Chronicles. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. Number 7 with over 35 games, and again, this surprises me because we never sit down to think of how many games come into the franchise. Over 35 games, Castlevania.
Okay, that honestly, I can see that because of all the Game Boy. It was
all the Game Boy stuff.
It took advantage of Game Boy Advance and DS for a while.
Yeah, see, and that's why I'm not
because
I'm not well versed in handheld. That's why some of these are surprising to me. So, number 6, and this is a series I never got into, but I know it's really popular with over 40 games. Dragon Quest.
Okay, see, I'm predicting RPGs are going to hit the top of the list.
Yeah.
So,
and you'd be correct. No, actually, you wouldn't be. I'm sorry. You're wrong. Okay. Number 5 with over 55 games. And then, you know what I found funny about this one? I thought there were more. Pokemon.
See, that's what I thought was number 1.
Nope.
It is number 5?
Number 5. There are only, somewhere between 55 and 60 games.
And they cheat because usually when they release a game, they release 2 at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. You get gold and silver. You get red and blue.
Okay. Wow.
Now
I'm curious.
Number 4 with over 75 games, and I didn't even think that they had that many. Final Fantasy.
Games. They just talked about Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, I know they announced 16, but then you got to think of Chronicles, Tactics, and God knows how many other spin-offs that are counted under that.
I guess all
umbrella.
the re-releases. They'll re-released on Game Boy Advance. They'll re-released on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, those all count as separate games.
Yep.
So, and then there were spin-offs for certain ones. Like Final Fantasy VII had a spin-off, and there were a bunch.
Crystal Chronicles. Yeah.
All that stuff. Number 3 with 80 games, Sonic.
Okay, I can see that. I can definitely see that. Again, Game Gear, Saturn,
Dreamcast,
definitely worthwhile on that one.
Yeah, and then of course,
even though he kind of trailed off.
Yeah, but then his foray into Nintendo.
That's what I was going to say. That's where it started to pick up.
Yeah, exactly. So because Nintendo, you know how much they bastardize their characters. You go in everything.
Basically. You are not a plumber.
Yeah, exactly. Number 2, which you'll be very happy to know, because now I want you to collect them all. Mega Man, 100 games.
All right, that I don't believe.
Yep.
So Mega Man, what are we up to? Mega Man 11.
Mm-hmm.
Then there were 5 X games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know what? Again, it's going back to the Game Boy.
Yep.
They had those Game Boy games, the Battle Network games.
Yep. Yeah. See, all told, like every single one adds up to 100. See, that's why I was very surprised with this list, and I wanted to share it. And then number 1, which to me was the most predictable, because immediately when I thought of the list, I'm like, I know who number 1 is. It's going to be Mario.
Oh yeah,
Mario has starred in 115 games. 115 titles.
That is definitely believable. They've repurposed a bunch of them a bunch of times. But yeah, he's been everything. He's been a doctor. He's been a referee. He's been a go-kart racer. So
yeah, he's everything. And not only that, actually it's 116 games because Super Mario 3D All-Stars just came out.
Yes, that's true. That was before June. So
yeah, exactly. June. So those are the most video game titles specifically in a franchise.
Yeah, I'm going to be looking in because I definitely want to look at the list. I'm really curious.
Exactly, cool. Because that's what it made me do. It was like, I was like, after we report this, I need to look at the actual list, and then it'll be a new way for me to collect games too. Because it's like, you know how big of a Zelda fan I am. Okay, there were only 28 Zelda games. I was like, I need to own them all. I don't know which ones I'm missing, except the CDI ones. They can go burn in hell. But I need to get the rest. No. There's no love for CDI. Come on.
No, there certainly was not.
No. With the exception of Myst, that is the only game that ever came out on CDI that I think was worthy, But then it wound up on every other console, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, it's a slow game to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a slow guy, so I'm good. Larry, we haven't done this in a while, and when I say that, I mean a mini segment. But I thought for the 200th episode, we should, go a little old school. And
why not?
We're going to celebrate a very special retro birthday. And I'm not just talking about our 200 episodes. I am talking about a very special retro birthday, the 24th birthday on the actual day we're dropping this episode on September 29th. September 29th, 1996, 24 years ago, was the release of Nintendo 64.
Wow. 24 years old?
And not only is that 24 years old, but the two launch titles that went with it, Super Mario 64 and Pilot Wings 64.
Wow, I can't believe it.
Yeah, that 24 years. It's been 24 years.
Well, it's one of the best systems out there. In fact, I just saw recently Hyperkin is releasing a adapter for it that will let you play PAL and Japanese games on your current North American N64.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you just stays it because it'll play all three regions. So you don't have to keep swapping out.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, no, they just announced it, so be on the lookout for that. But now that I think about it, that's probably why they did 24 years.
24 years. I mean, it blows my mind because I still, and I've said this story on the show before. I still remember the day that I went to Nobody Beats the Wiz and got it for a birthday gift a month early.
And I bought the system and had the system for about a month before I got the first game because the games were sold out.
Yep. Yeah, which is really weird. You can get a console but not the games. That's
very odd.
Yeah, very, very odd. I don't think they've made that mistake since then.
No, not yet.
No, not yet. But coming soon. So happy 24th birthday to Super Mario 64, Pilot Wings 64, and one of my favorites, the Nintendo 64 console. And that is this week's retro birthday.
All right, so we're just going to roll along here. We feel, episode 200, we want to, bring it back to what made us really, really enjoy. I mean, we always enjoy doing the podcast, but yes, we have another, Ant's got another list here, which I'm kind of looking forward to because that first one, you have no idea. As soon as we're done recording, I'm very interested in all of these Mega Man games that supposedly exist.
Yeah. So. Well, and you know what? I think I'm going to pique your interest even more.
Oh, boy.
Because I have another really cool list that I came up with.
I have a car note.
Now, oh, please. That's going to stop you.
You're going to find out about that in a few minutes.
Oh, boy. But, so we just did the most games most titles in a franchise. Now... I was trying to look up things 200 I'm thinking 200 episodes, what things have stood the test of time, and I found the list, the top 10 video game franchises in terms of length of time. So the longest running video game franchises.
Oh, you mean like from when the first game was released till now?
Till the last game. Yeah.
Okay, I got.
No, some are not. Okay. Some are not active currently. But they still made the top 10 list.
Kind of like how Grumpy Old Men and then the sequel were like 50 years apart.
Exactly. So
okay, gotcha.
So something like that. So I have the top 10 on that. I didn't want to do more than that, so let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
And what's interesting is that I did not know what number 10 was. So that was the first thing that surprised me. The rest of them I knew. So number 10 on the list is a franchise called Elite. I don't know if you know what that is.
Elite. I'm unfamiliar with that.
So it was created by Frontier Developments. The first game, called Elite, was released in September 20th, 1984.
Okay.
And the latest game is due out Q1 of 2021, called Elite Dangerous Odyssey. So it's been running for 36 years and 6 months. Now, so what Elite is, and I looked it up on, where else would I go but Wikipedia?
Of course.
So Elite, and I'm just going to read this because I don't know what it is. So Elite is a space trading video game. It was, so the player
sounds boring.
The player controls Commander Jameson, though the name can be changed each time the game is saved. The player starts at Lave Station with 100 credits and a lightly armed trading ship. Most of the ships that the player encounters are similarly named after snakes or other reptiles. Credits can be accumulated through a number of means. These include piracy, trade, military missions, bounty hunting, and asteroid mining. The money generated by these enterprises allows the player to upgrade their ship with enhancements such as better weapons, increased cargo capacity, an automated docking system, an extra energy bank, and more. There are planets you can go to, space stations. You know what it reminded me of when I was reading it? It reminded me of the TV series Firefly.
It does kind of have a Firefly feel to it, yeah.
Right? And I wonder if that's where we got the idea from, because this thing was released September 20th, 1984, and they just announced a new one for Q1 of next year. So
interesting.
So 36 and a half years for that one.
Okay.
It's surprising. Okay. Number 9, and you're going to hear a couple of similar ones compared to the other list that I came up that I told you.
Gotcha.
So number 9, Donkey Kong, which the first game released July 9th, 1981, and we're talking, of course, about the classic arcade game Donkey Kong. Mm-hmm. The last game to come out in the franchise was Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Switch, May 4th, 2018, for a total length of 36 years and 9 months.
Yeah, and that, you really can't go wrong with Donkey Kong, in my opinion.
Yep.
And Tropical Freeze was awesome.
Yeah. So, and again,
on the Switch.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, obviously Nintendo's going to be up here for their franchises.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if Nintendo knows anything, kind of mentioned before, they do not let their IPs die.
No, they don't. But, surprisingly enough, other companies don't let theirs die either, because remember,
for the most part, yeah,
I was going to say there are actual companies that predated Nintendo in terms of video game releases, and they're also on this list. All right, so number 8 from Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I didn't know this.
I was just thinking of that.
The first Flight Simulator came out in November of 1982. And
82?
Yes, and the latest one just came out last month, August 18th of 2020.
I remember when they... Yeah, go ahead.
For a span of 37 years and 9 months.
Wow, 82. I remember hearing about when they announced the new one. That was like a big deal. Like, they're doing a new flight simulator. But 82, that's wild.
I tried playing it in 1996, I think, on when I first got a PC. Like a really good PC. And I was like, I'm going to play this. And I started playing it, and I'm like, wait, is this all I'm doing? Okay.
Wait, this is in real time?
Yeah. So, and I had a friend in school, like he would actually bring in like his flight course, like he would print it all out, like his flight, like the flight data and all this stuff.
That is awesome.
I'm like, I looked at him and I said, that's cool and scary. I don't want to know that.
We'll leave that one alone, but
yeah, because it's like you bring the flight up in the air and then your computer is on autopilot for like how many hours?
No, for real. You just gotta sit there like a real pilot, sitting there, you're smoking, you're talking to the stewardess or whatever.
Well, that's like that truck game where the whole purpose is to just drive from like LA to Las Vegas. I forgot the name of that game.
Desert Bus.
Desert Bus, where you just drive a bus.
Yep.
It's just, and you have to hold the controller because it'll slowly veer off.
Exactly.
You're literally sitting there for like 5 hours.
No, for real. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But hence Flight Simulator.
There you go. So that was number 8. Number 7. And again, this surprised the hell out of me. From id Software, Castle Wolfenstein was first released. The Wolfenstein series. Castle Wolfenstein was first released September of 1981.
81.
Yep. And then the latest game came out July 25th, 2019, for a span of 37 years and 10 months.
81. That's ridiculous.
Right?
It makes me one that came out around the time of Doom.
Yeah, exactly. But no, see, it makes me want to go back now and look at these original games to see what they look like, because obviously these were probably really low versions of what we remember in the 90s. You know, because the Wolfenstein we remember obviously way different than what would have come out in 1981.
Yeah, because again, I'm thinking like it came out like right before Doom, so to me it has that feel of Doom. Right. 81. Wow. Okay.
So that was number 7. Number 6, which is awesome, by I don't know if you remember Taito, which is now Square Enix. Space Invaders, released in July 1978, and the last game to come out for it at this point, Arkanoid versus Space Invaders, May 17th, 2017, which gave it a span of 38 years and 11 months.
I know all about that game.
I know you do. How's that going?
Well, now that it has become a prize, I've not played it. So even though no one can win Arkanoid versus Space Invaders, I've already used the download code. Listen to episode 199 to learn about that fun.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was kind of funny. It was on the list because I'm like, oh look, we're paying last episode some respect.
Stupid Space Invaders, and I love Space Invaders. So
yeah.
All right.
Number 5 is probably one that you're going to be very happy to hear. From Bandai Namco Entertainment, Galaxian franchise. And that includes Galaga. That's part of the same series. Yep. So Galaxian first came out October of 1979. The last version, Galaga Revenge, January 8th, 2019, for a span of 39 years and 3 months.
Wait a minute. 79?
October 1979 was Galaxian.
Wow. I could have sworn that was like 83 or 84.
Nope.
Holy cow.
Yep.
That's nuts.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Unless this list is lying to me, and I don't think it is.
we That's it. This is the last time we get from the website, fakenewsvideogames.com.
How did you know where I went?
I mean, I believe it. Don't get me wrong. There had to be a first game somewhere. I wonder, but wow. Okay. Yep.
All right. Actually, it's at a tie for 5th because this one has the same amount of length, although this one is currently active still.
Okay.
Which means there's another game coming out soon. And that is the franchise of Pac-Man. Pac-Man by Bandai Namco originally came out July of 1980. The last game released as of today is Pac-Man Party Royale on October 18th, 2019, for a span of 39 years and 3 months.
You can, and that game, actually, I've played that game. That's a good like multiplayer game.
Is that the arcade one where you're...
Yes, with the 4.
I've played that. It's super fun. Actually, at Barcade in LA.
Exactly. I've played it Barcade at Brooklyn and also I think in Philly. Cool. Barcade representing.
There you go.
What was I going to say? I wonder if we should update that list because on the Namco Museum collections that came out recently, it has the Pac-Man Championship Edition, but the 8-bit version. And that technically has a release date of 2020.
Yeah, so then that would definitely extend the franchise and would probably throw it into the top 3.
Real quick, did you play that Pac-and-Pal?
Yes, it's terrible.
Okay, I was curious.
Yeah, it's awful. I played it once and I'm like, this is garbage.
Thank you for the gift.
No. I love the gift. You don't understand.
I know.
There are times where I'm wandering around the house and I have like 5 or 10 minutes to spare, and I just turn it on and play a quick game.
You just like I can see you walking by on your phone, like literally, you're like, You turn around.
No, it's like it'll be like, oh, you know what? Like I have a conference call in about 10 minutes. I'm like, what do I do for 10 minutes? I'm like,
It's whispering to you. Exactly. Come play with me. Play.
And I'm like, yes, I'll play with you. And then it's like, no.
Right.
Yes. We're in the top 3. Number 3. From Nintendo, not surprising, the Mario franchise, which originated, and they're counting it from Donkey Kong July 9th, 1981,
Ooh.
all the way to the latest announcement of Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury coming out February 12th of 2021, which will make it a span of 39 years and 7 months.
Okay, at first I was like, I know why they're counting Donkey Kong. I probably would have counted it from Mario Brothers, but be that as it may, that series it will finish when Nintendo finishes. You know what I mean?
That will, to me, that will always be the longest running. For at some point, it'll just be the longest running, unless these other two just keep rolling. Which number two, and number two is kind of like, and here's the interesting thing. I see number two as a technicality because yes, in terms of the longest running, it is correct, but in terms of how many games have come out, it's less. And it's also from Nintendo, and we're talking about the Game & Watch franchise because they just announced some new ones. So the first one that came out was Ball on April 28th, 1980, and now we have the Super Mario Brothers color screen coming out November 13th of 2020, which gives it a franchise run of 40 years and 6 months.
Yeah, you're right. I wonder.
It is. It's a franchise, though.
No. It is a franchise. I'm just trying to figure out when the last official Game & Watch was produced before this new one comes out, which I'm checking every day for pre-orders. They haven't gone up yet.
Yeah, because I want the Legend of Zelda one.
That was a mock-up. So don't. Boo. Yeah, but as much as everything's going successful here with Mario, I got to hopefully, knock on wood, they'll do one for Zelda next year.
Yeah. And then, again, you're going to say the same thing about number one as a technicality, but, however, we are talking longest running, so as long as they create a new game, it counts. The longest running video game franchise by MECC is the Oregon Trail. And the reason why is because the first Oregon Trail was released December 3rd of 1971. The latest release was the handheld Oregon Trail, which I actually own somewhere. I know what
you're talking about.
Yep. It was released March 2nd of 2018. So that franchise has technically been running for 46 years and 2 months.
that dysentery, man, gets you every time.
You always have this between. Yeah, I have the handheld one, and I also have the board game. The board game's super fun.
What? There's a board game?
There was an Oregon Trail board game. There were two of them, actually.
And when I go back and think about it, I don't think I've ever actually learned anything except for what dysentery was. Like, what was the teaching tool other than the teachers made us play the game so they can go take a coffee break?
Yeah, that's basically what it was. I don't think you necessarily learned that much from the game. It really,
I think so.
Except how to use tools to survive in case you were ever caught in the wilderness. I don't know. At that point, it's like I always say, if I ever get caught in the wilderness, I just want the Blair Witch to take me, so I don't care.
Let's call it a day.
Yeah, I bet. Yo, witch, come here. I'm done.
I've been standing in the corner for 20 minutes. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm like, come on. Otherwise, I'm going to pee. That is the longest running video game franchise list that I found.
All right, cool.
So. Yeah. So, I don't know. Some surprises on there for sure.
No, definitely. I would have thought Mario was number one but you forget first of all, Oregon Trail, I would have never seen coming. And
neither did
Galaxian, who I did not realize it was that old.
Yep.
I would have immediately thought Mario. But what's funny is actually probably not, because I wouldn't, unless you said it, I don't think I would have recognized. I know he's in Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But he's not, he wasn't Mario yet. He was Jumpman, even though it's the same character.
Yeah.
So, but nevertheless, interesting list. That's
it was a really cool list. So, I hope everybody listening and watching enjoyed my little list.
There we go. All right, so we are here at this point. Of course, episode 200. We announced last week, last episode, and during the time off that, we wanted to hear from you, our fans, our friends of the podcast. A few of you have been gracious enough to send in wonderful shout-outs. It's great to know that we're loved and wanted, and some people do listen.
Barely.
So here are some of our friends and family giving some nice shout-outs to the Retro Gamers Podcast.
First off, happy 200. episodes.
Guys, happy 200 episodes. Wanted to congratulate you guys on your 200th episode.
Hello guys, I'm happy for the 200 episodes.
Retro Gamers Podcast, episode 200. That's a big deal. What do I like best about that podcast? Correcting Larry's mistakes, because there are a lot of them.
I just love hearing you guys in the morning, on Wednesday mornings, on my way to New York for work, and I like hearing all of your opinions on games relating to real life situations.
My favorite thing about the podcast,
If I had to pick a favorite moment,
My favorite memory has to be the whole VB sucks thing,
Virtual Boy sucks.
which all started because you, Larry, thought I broke your Virtual Boy. So it's kind of your own fault that it all started.
Anthony totally demolishing that Virtual Boy.
And I did feel bad for you when Anthony destroyed it and sent it to you. It was hilarious, but I did honestly feel bad.
But getting to know you guys over the last couple of years, it has definitely been your friendship, and just getting to laugh and get to know you guys. So congratulations.
Big congrats to Larry and Big Antone. I'm hoping for another 200.
Congratulations, you guys. 200 episodes. That's awesome.
Happy 200. Here's to many more. And # VB sucks.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We love hearing from.
You can't.
What the hell, dude?
Well, look, it's a 200th episode, and we got to pay our respects to what has come before. And I would have been remiss to have forgotten to mention the most famous slogan in Retro Gamers podcast history, which is, of course, #VB sucks.
On my birthday,
Yes.
on my birthday,
Mm-hmm.
the infamous segment of Anthony destroying a Virtual Boy, literally destroying a Virtual Boy.
It was a beautiful thing. It really was. And not only that, I enjoyed mailing it to you.
And I still have it in the box, in the pieces, in the
Nice.
back.
I think you should try and glue it back together. It's just like the perfect puzzle.
We want to rebuild them, but we don't have that much money.
No, we don't have. We can rebuild it, but we don't have the technology.
Exactly. But yes, #VB sucks was for a long time.
Yeah.
It's funny, talking about episode 200, just some memories of the podcast real quick.
Mm-hmm.
At my job, I remember and I've mentioned, we talked about this years ago. The former head honcho of my department, I told him I do podcasts, so I figured he'd just be like, oh, okay, nice. And then I run into him in the hall one day, and he's just like, oh, yeah, that Virtual Boy. And this was like 2 or 3 weeks later. I was like, what? What are you talking about? And in my head, I'm like, uh-oh, he's listening to the podcast, which is fine because we do we do a clean podcast.
Of course.
The other ones I do usually not so clean, so which doesn't bother me, but I just don't really want the head honcho at my job, to listen just out of respect. Not that I'm BSing anything, but I remember when he said that, I was like, wow. Let me watch my P's and Q's just in case.
Exactly. Well, yeah, and to share a similar experience, but last year at my job, somebody stopped me in the parking lot when I was either getting to work or whatever. We were outside, and he's like, hey, Anthony, he's like, something weird happened. He's like, I was listening to this podcast that a friend of mine recommended to me, and he's like, wait, I know that voice, and he's like, yeah. He's like, do you do the Retro Gamers podcast? And I'm like, yes, I do. I was like, so that was like the first time I ever got called out for the podcast.
There you go.
And I was like, wow. I go, again, it's just one of those small world situations, and it was kind of cool.
No, it's crazy. And then, of course, we've also done, at this point, we want to give some shout outs to, we've done the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo has been fun the last few years. Myself, I was able to do a little bit of broadcasting from New York Comic-Con. This is all stuff. Back in the day, kids, people used to get together for giant conventions.
Yes.
we got that. We cannot move on any further until we say thank you to the cast and crew over at Game On.
Yes.
Look, I'm not just saying this. I truly feel it, and I think you're the same way. And you don't even live in the area, but they are one of the best retro video game stores, I think, on the planet.
Yeah, and if you look over my left shoulder, you will see the original Xbox and the PlayStation 3 that I purchased from Game On.
There you go, and those were shipped to you.
And they were, I paid for the shipping because that's how much I love that place. No, I'm just saying that's how much I love that store.
No, I know.
So
yeah, check them out. They're online at Game On Miller Place, at Game On Smithtown, and then of course Anthony's early traveling days. Super Potato in Japan.
Oh my God, Super Potato I loved reporting about Super Potato. That is one of the, I'm sorry, that I guess, let's say outside of the United States, hands down, one of the best stores I've ever been to for video games. And Larry, you benefited from it just as much as I did. I always had to leave extra room in the suitcase because I knew I was coming back with something from Super Potato in Japan. And again, my Famicom, my Super Famicom, my Famicom disk drive, all the games I purchased there. I love it, and I miss it too. I would go back to Japan just to hit up all the Super Potatoes.
I'm dying to. Trust me, when
we need on location, Larry. When travel's ready to go and everything like that, I think it's time for us to go to Japan together.
Bro, I am ready. Look, I've been planning to go to Japan, to hit up Wrestle Kingdom, but me and you can go and do the video game thing.
Well, Wrestle Kingdom, Super Potato, and Nintendo World in Universal Studios.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yep.
Ooh, that should be pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, so we got lots to do in Japan.
Awesome. And it's funny now, just released recently actually, how your trip to Japan and now the Nintendo Switch are starting to merge. One of the trips that you went on, you had brought back a game for me on Super Nintendo. It was Mario Picross on Super Nintendo, Super Famicom, excuse me. I love the Picross series. That started on Game Boy. There's a ton of them available on the 3DS, on the Switch. It's a great puzzle game, even just to sit back and relax, because you can do a couple of puzzles and then move on with your day. But they just released on the Nintendo Switch Online for the North American Super Nintendo collection. They have a couple of Japanese games in there. Yeah. And one of them is that Mario Picross.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's in Japanese. Nothing's translated. But still. The game, I've been playing it religiously right now the last few days. So,
very cool.
But that was a fun one. But I even have on our YouTube page, I have a couple of videos of me playing the original Mario Picross on Super Nintendo or Super Famicom. I had some sort of adapter for the Super Famicom.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, very cool. And then, of course, one other thing, you got a special shout out again, 200 episodes, and we wouldn't have made it obviously without obviously everybody listening and watching, and we can't thank you guys enough, but also the people who have stepped in for us when we have been unavailable. And I know how my travel over the last few years has been. So my job has definitely made it difficult for me at times. So I can't thank people enough for stepping in. People like Frank, my friend Rich, who would step in for you when you weren't available. Charlie, of course, who would join us every once in a while. I think the last episode he joined me for was the one where we did the best music. Our top video game themes, which was really cool. Our special guest when we had Dr. Anthony Bean on, which was really awesome.
Anthony Chu of the Yin and Yang podcast.
Of course, Anthony Chu of the Yin and Yang podcast. Always great having him on. Mario as well.
Yep, Mario, as you mentioned, Frank of the Better Half podcast.
Yep.
And then, of course, one of our dear friends that we met through podcasting, dear friends, actually, Brandon and Josh over at Victims and Villains.
Yep, can't thank them enough for joining us. We've always had a blast. Here's the thing. We've always had a good time with everybody who has ever joined us on the show, whether one of us wasn't available or if they were a third. So it was always, it's always a great experience, and I'm always happy to have those people join us whenever they're
totally.
So it's really cool.
It's been a blast, and I've said it many times before as we get ready to wrap this up. It's not a sob story. almost all my video games were lost in Hurricane Sandy. And, I really kind of was just going to chalk it up to, all right, things are gone, move on. But because of this podcast has cost me so much money in repurchasing a lot of games and new that I never owned before. I don't know whether to truly love this creation that we made or truly despise the creation that we made because of all the games and all the systems now that we both own at this point.
I think at the end of the day, the former wins out.
I think
because
so.
Look, we've loved gaming since we were kids. We've never. And it's one of the constants in our lives. We've never stopped gaming, no matter what. So, doing this podcast has made me realize not only how much knowledge I've retained over the years, but how much I really love not just playing games, but talking about games, researching and learning new information. Like whenever I do like the 2 lists we did today, like it's always cool to kind of look up this stuff and be like, wow, I had no idea there were 100 Mega Man games. I had no idea that the longest running game franchise.
I'm still curious.
Yeah. I had no idea the longest running game franchise was the Oregon Trail. I would have never have thought of that. Like, so it's really cool to kind of like learn all that information. And not only that, but to share it, to share the time with you. Because this is really, it's really awesome.
I mean, we've met each other in high school, 1994, I want to say. The epic story of me walking to your house with a backpack full of Super Nintendo games and then walking home and getting mugged on the way home.
Yes.
The first time I ever hung out with you. So,
and you never learned.
Kind of started. No, that was the genesis of our friendship.
Not the Sega genesis.
All these years later. No. Honestly, all joking aside, and I love doing it. This is looking forward to this every week. And I know if we didn't have the podcast, our friendship is one of those, they say, oh, if you don't talk to someone for 5 years, but then you meet up again, it's like you never left. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We would have had that anyway, but this is something definitely I look forward to each and every week, not only to do this, but even just catching up on what we do during the week anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And and I couldn't be more grateful for it. I really couldn't. So thank you all those years ago for starting this madness. I remember how reluctant I was to even start this. And now here we are, 200 episodes later, doing audio, doing video, and just, talking about what we love.
Doing 5K runs for me.
Yeah, nice, very nice.
This, and I would, trust me, I would never have done this probably otherwise, but this is a really cool actual medal for a virtual nowadays, 5K. And Ann, I know you do probably 5Ks once a day, but for me, this was one of the most difficult things to do.
Yes.
But
and you know what? And I commend you greatly for getting it done, because I know what a challenge it is to get to do a run. And yes, I can do a 5K every day without a problem.
And I walked, don't get me wrong, I walked it and it was still a hump.
That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. 3 miles is 3.1 miles, man. Good for you.
Virtual run. These are cool.
The last virtual run I did a Friday the 13K.
That's awesome.
And which came out to a little over 8 miles.
Just real quick, for those of you, and I'm going to maybe try and do it one more, but those of you who do these religiously, I think they have another one out, but it's a Game Boy. Shaped like a Game Boy.
Yeah, see, I gotta look up that so I can earn that medal.
This is Virtual Run. Check them out at Virtual Run.
All right, I will look for that.
But with that, and I have a pre-order I have to do later on tonight.
Ooh.
So things aren't over. Yes, the Darius.
You getting the PS5, huh?
I am. No, I have not pre-ordered that yet. No.
I did. I managed to get not one but two.
Why is it when we buy stuff, just like the minis?
Okay,
we get multiple copies.
The thing is, the second one I'm buying for somebody else because I am trading him for a retro game system, a retro console.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's the barter you were talking about.
That's the barter I was talking about. So he gets a PS5. I get a retro console that is roughly the same price or worth more, actually, than the PS5. So.
Well, don't announce it yet. I guess wait till we get it.
Get it. I'll announce it when it arrives.
But yeah, real quick, the Darius Cosmic Revelations Collection, which is 2 more games, Darius HD and Darius Burst. And I will announce this here now that Strictly Limited Gaming is the one that's putting it out. And I will buy from them 100 times more than I will ever buy from that company, limited whatever.
Why are you bringing them up if you don't like them?
Because they also were part of the show, kind of, sort of.
They are. And you know what? I would like to say an extra special thank you to Limited Run Games for always upholding your end of the bargain with my orders.
Whatever. All right. With that, folks, we're going to wrap it all up. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
For 200 episodes.
Thank you very much. We could not be more grateful. And here's to 200 more. But by that time, Absolutely. I'll be dead.
We'll see what happens. And folks, we will continue to catch you everywhere next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.